The pills made everything fuzzy around the edges, like looking through frosted glass. I blinked hard, trying to focus on the cabin's wooden ceiling. Something was wrong. The air felt different, colder, emptier, like when you walk into a house and know immediately that nobody's home. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Adriana? My voice came out as a croak. The surgery 3 days ago had taken more out of me than I'd expected. Gallbladder removal wasn't supposed to be a big deal, but complications had kept me under longer than planned. My wife had insisted we come to this remote Maine cabin for my recovery. Fresh air and quiet, she'd said. Just what you need. Now the quiet felt hostile. I sat up slowly, wincing at the pull of stitches. The living room was pristine, too pristine. Adriana's travel magazines were gone from the coffee table. Her phone charger wasn't plugged into the wall outlet. The expensive candles she'd lit every evening, vanilla and sandalwood, had been blown out and removed. On the kitchen counter, propped against the coffee maker like a restaurant check, was a folded piece of hotel stationery. My hands shook as I opened it. Soren, taking what I'm owed. Off to the Maldives with someone who appreciates me. Don't call. Don't try to stop me. The locks have been changed on the penthouse. My lawyer will be in touch. I read it twice before the words sank in. Then I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed off the empty walls. My wife of 8 years, my business partner, the woman who'd held my hand in the hospital, had robbed me blind while I was recovering from surgery. Classy, Adriana. Really classy. I stumbled to the window and looked out at the snow-covered driveway. Her BMW was gone, naturally. Only my Jeep remained, buried under 6 inches of fresh powder. The nearest town was 12 miles away, and my phone? I searched the cabin frantically. Kitchen drawers, bedroom nightstands, bathroom counter, nothing. She'd taken my phone too. The front door was locked from the outside. I could hear the lock bolt mechanism when I turned the handle. Same with the back door. The windows were the old-fashioned kind that had been painted shut decades ago. I was trapped in a luxury prison, recovering from surgery, while my wife cleaned out our accounts from a beach in the Maldives. You've got to be kidding me. But Adriana had made one mistake. She'd forgotten about the spare key I'd hidden under the loose floorboard on the back porch. It took me 20 minutes of careful prying with a butter knife to get it loose, and another 10 to work up the courage to step outside in just pajamas and boots. The cold hit me like a slap. Snow immediately soaked through my thin cotton pants, and the wind cut through my t-shirt like it was tissue paper. But I was free. The Jeep started on the third try, engine coughing in the cold. I cranked the heat and sat shivering while it warmed up, watching my breath fog in the air. 12 miles to town? 12 miles to find out exactly how badly I'd been screwed. The Rusty Anchor was exactly the kind of bar you'd expect in a Maine resort town, all weathered wood and nautical nonsense, filled with locals who'd seen every type of tourist disaster imaginable. I pushed through the heavy door, still wearing yesterday's clothes, probably looking like I'd been hit by a truck. Jesus, Soren, you look like hell. The voice belonged to Jake Morrison, a guy I'd known since college. He was sitting at the bar with his laptop open, working remotely like half the people who'd fled to Maine during the pandemic and never left. Feel worse than I look. I slumped onto the stool next to him. Can I borrow your phone? It's an emergency. Jake handed it over without question. The first call was to my bank. Automated system, endless menu options, finally a human being. I'm sorry, Mr. Hale, but I show that account was closed yesterday at the request of the joint account holder. Closed? What do you mean closed? The funds were transferred to an international account. I can't provide details over the phone, but if you'd like to visit a branch... I hung up and immediately dialed my business account. Mr. Hale? Yes, your wife came in yesterday with power of attorney documents. She withdrew the remaining balance and closed the account. My hands were shaking as I handed the phone back to Jake. How much trouble am I in if I tell you my wife just cleaned out every account we had while I was recovering from surgery? Jake's eyebrows shot up. Are you serious? Adriana did that? Left me locked in the cabin with a note. Said she was going to the Maldives with someone who appreciates her. Holy shit. Jake closed his laptop. Okay, first things first. You need a lawyer, and you need to figure out exactly what she took. Can you get into your online banking? We spent the next hour hunched over Jake's laptop, and the damage was worse than I'd imagined. Checking account, empty. Savings, empty. Business account, empty. She'd even liquidated my retirement fund, paying the penalties. The only thing she couldn't touch was my software company's corporate account, and only because I'd been paranoid enough to require 2 signatures for major transactions. She got about 400,000, I said finally. Left me with maybe 30 grand in the corporate account and whatever's in my wallet. What about the penthouse? She said the locks were changed. I'm guessing she's claiming it as her primary residence for the divorce. Jake shook his head. This is unreal. I mean, I knew Adriana was high maintenance, but this... Yeah, well, turns out I didn't know her as well as I thought. The bar door opened, bringing a gust of cold air and Gina Walsh, Adriana's best friend and biggest enabler. She spotted me immediately and made a beeline for our table, her designer boots clicking on the wooden floor. Well, well, if it isn't the abandoned husband... Gina's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Adriana told me you might turn up here eventually. Gina? I didn't bother standing up. Let me guess. You knew about this whole thing. Knew about it? Honey, I helped plan it. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Adriana on a beach, wearing a bikini that probably cost more than most people's rent, raising a tropical drink to the camera. She says the Maldives are gorgeous this time of year. I'll bet they are, especially when you're spending someone else's money. Oh, please. You think Adriana didn't earn that money? 8 years of putting up with your workaholic bullshit, your boring friends, your complete inability to have fun? She deserves every penny. Jake started to say something, but I held up a hand. It's okay. Let her talk. You want to know the best part? Gina leaned closer, her perfume overwhelming. She's not alone. Liam's with her. You remember Liam Faulkner, the travel influencer? He's got 2 million followers and actually knows how to treat a woman. Liam Faulkner. I remembered him from a party last year. Pretty boy with perfect teeth and a carefully groomed beard. The kind of guy who took selfies with his protein shakes. He'd spent the whole night talking about his brand and asking if I could help him develop an app for travel bloggers. Liam's the one she was cheating with? Cheating? Gina laughed. Sweetie, you can't cheat on someone who's never really there. When's the last time you took Adriana anywhere nice? When's the last time you even noticed what she was wearing? She had a point, but I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction. So she decided to steal my life savings instead of asking for a divorce like a normal person. She tried talking to you. You were always too busy with your precious software company. Well, guess what? Now you can focus on work all you want. Just don't expect to do it from that fancy penthouse. Gina turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Soren? Don't bother trying to get the money back. Liam knows people in the Caymans. That money's gone for good. She clicked out of the bar, leaving me staring at my reflection in Jake's laptop screen. I looked older than my 38 years, tired and beaten down. But underneath the exhaustion, something else was building. Something cold and patient and very, very angry. You okay? Jake asked. Actually, yeah, I think I am. I stood up, suddenly feeling clearer than I had in days. Can you do me a favor? I need you to make some calls. Jake turned out to be more helpful than I'd expected. Within 2 hours, he'd connected me with Sarah Chen, a divorce attorney who specialized in asset recovery, and Tom Rodriguez, a private investigator who'd worked fraud cases for 20 years. Both of them agreed to meet me that evening at Jake's house. Sarah was all business, mid-40s, sharp suit, the kind of woman who'd probably intimidated opposing counsel since law school. Tom looked exactly like Central Casting's idea of a private investigator. Rumpled clothes, 5 o'clock shadow, eyes that didn't miss anything. The good news, Sarah said, spreading papers across Jake's kitchen table, is that what your wife did is illegal. You can't just clean out joint accounts and flee the country, power of attorney or not. The bad news is that getting the money back could take years, especially if it's in offshore accounts. What about the penthouse? That's trickier. If she's claiming it as her primary residence and you've been staying at the cabin, she might have a case. We'll need to challenge it, but it won't be quick. Tom leaned back in his chair. I've been looking into this Liam character. Real name's William Faulkner. Yeah, like the writer, except this guy's never read a book in his life. He's got money problems, big ones. His influencer thing is mostly fake. Bought followers, staged photos, the whole 9 yards. He's been dodging creditors for months. So he's using Adriana for her money, I said. Your money, Sarah corrected. And yes, probably. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I was quiet for a long moment, thinking. The old Soren would have played by the rules, filed the paperwork, waited for the system to work. But the old Soren had also trusted his wife completely, and look where that got him. I want them to pay, I said finally. Not just financially, I want them to hurt the way they hurt me. Sarah looked uncomfortable. Soren, I have to advise you not to do anything illegal. If you're caught interfering with the investigation, I'm not talking about anything illegal. I'm talking about consequences. Adriana thinks she's untouchable because she's pretty and charming and knows how to work people. Liam thinks he's safe because he's got his little social media empire. They're both wrong. Tom smiled for the first time since I'd met him. What did you have in mind? Over the next hour, we laid out a plan. Tom would continue investigating Liam's financial situation and track their movements in the Maldives. Sarah would file all the legal paperwork and start the asset recovery process. And I would do what I did best, gather information and wait for the right moment to use it. One more thing, I said as they were leaving. I need to get back into my penthouse. The locks were changed, Jake reminded me. Yeah, but Adriana forgot something. I designed the security system. I know exactly how to get around it. The penthouse looked different. Adriana had redecorated in the 3 days since she'd locked me out, replacing my comfortable furniture with sleek, expensive pieces that looked like they belonged in a magazine. Everything was white and chrome and glass, beautiful but cold. I stood in the living room, looking out at the city lights, and felt like a stranger in my own home, which was probably the point. Adriana was erasing me, one piece of furniture at a time, but she'd missed a few things. My home office was untouched. She'd probably assumed there was nothing valuable in there except computer equipment. She was wrong. I fired up my desktop and got to work. First, I checked our shared cloud storage account. Adriana hadn't bothered changing the password, which meant I had access to 8 years of photos, documents, and emails, including some very interesting conversations with Liam that dated back 6 months. A. He's so boring, babe. All he cares about is work. L. You deserve better. Someone who appreciates how amazing you are. A. I know, but the money situation is complicated. L. Don't worry about money. I've got some things in the works, big things. A. What kind of things? L. Better if you don't know details. Just trust me. The conversations got more personal from there. They'd been planning this for months, waiting for the right opportunity. My surgery had just given them the perfect window. I copied everything to a secure drive and kept digging. Adriana's email account was still logged in on the kitchen laptop. Her social media accounts were auto-logged in on her iPad, which she'd left behind in her rush to pack. By midnight, I had a complete picture of their plan. They weren't just stealing my money. They were planning to use it to fund Liam's next business venture, some kind of luxury travel app that would probably fail within 6 months. They'd even set up a shell company in the Caymans to hide the funds. But the most interesting discovery was in Adriana's Instagram DMs. She'd been bragging to friends about the heist, sharing photos of their first-class tickets and the resort where they were staying. She'd even posted their itinerary, complete with restaurant reservations and excursion bookings. Stupid, I muttered, screenshotting everything. Really, really stupid. My phone buzzed. A text from Tom. Found something interesting. Can you meet tomorrow morning? Sure. What did you find? Better to show you in person. But let's just say your boy Liam has been very, very naughty. I smiled for the first time in days. Phase 1 was complete. Now the real fun could begin. Tom's office was a cluttered mess of filing cabinets and computer equipment, but his information was gold. He spread a series of photographs across his desk like he was dealing cards. Liam Faulkner, he said, is not the successful influencer he pretends to be. Those 2 million followers, about half are bots. The sponsored posts, most of the companies don't exist. And this luxury lifestyle he's always posting about, it's all fake. The photos told the story. Liam posing with expensive cars that belonged to rental companies. Liam at fancy restaurants where he'd ordered one appetizer and nursed a single drink for hours while taking dozens of photos. Liam at his apartment, which was actually an Airbnb he'd rented for a few hours. He's broke, I said. Worse than broke. He owes money to some very unpleasant people, credit cards maxed out, loans in default, and at least 3 lawsuits pending. Your wife's money isn't just funding a vacation, it's keeping him out of serious trouble. What kind of trouble? Tom showed me another photo. Liam meeting with a man in an expensive suit outside a casino. Tony Marcelli. He runs a private lending operation for people who can't get traditional loans. The interest rates are aggressive. How much does Liam owe him? Near as I can figure, about $200,000, plus interest. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. So Liam seduced my wife to get access to my money, and now he's using it to pay off loan sharks. That's about the size of it. And here's the kicker. I don't think your wife knows. Look at this. He showed me a series of screenshots from Liam's private messages with someone named Danny. Got the money? Meeting with Tony tomorrow. After this, we're clear. What about the girl? What about her? She served her purpose. She's going to figure it out eventually. By then, we'll be long gone. I've got the Cayman account set up. Once the heat fades down, I'll disappear. I stared at the messages, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Adriana thought she was running away with her lover to start a new life. In reality, she was being used by a con man who planned to abandon her as soon as he'd cleaned up his debts. There's more, Tom said. I've been tracking their movements in the Maldives. They're not at some romantic hideaway. They're at a business conference, something called the International Digital Marketing Summit. Liam's been networking, trying to set up his next scam. What kind of scam? Investment fraud, looks like. He's pitching something called Wanderlust Capital, a fund that supposedly invests in travel and lifestyle startups. Complete bullshit, but he's got some people interested. I was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. Then I started to laugh. What's so funny? Tom asked. Adriana thinks she's so smart. She thinks she played me perfectly. But she's about to get conned by someone even worse than she is. So what do you want to do about it? I looked at the photos spread across Tom's desk. Evidence of lies, fraud, and betrayal. The old Soren would have felt sorry for Adriana, would have tried to warn her. But the old Soren was gone, buried under the weight of her betrayal. I want to watch it burn, I said. All of it. The International Digital Marketing Summit was being held at the Grand Maldives Resort, the same place Adriana had been posting photos from all week. Getting there required 2 flights and a seaplane transfer, but I'd decided it was worth the expense. Some things needed to be handled in person. I registered for the conference under my company name, legitimate business after all, and spent the first day observing. Liam was easy to spot, working the crowd in an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. He'd perfected the art of the casual name drop and the meaningful handshake. Adriana was playing the role of supportive girlfriend, beautiful and charming, and just slightly mysterious. She'd reinvented herself as a successful travel blogger, complete with a fake backstory about her digital nomad lifestyle. Watching her work the room, I had to admire her skill. She'd always been good at becoming whoever people wanted her to be. But I could see the cracks. She was drinking too much, laughing too loudly at Liam's jokes, and Liam himself seemed distracted, constantly checking his phone and glancing toward the exits. On the second day, I made my move. The conference had a panel on ethical investment in travel technology. I made sure to ask the first question during the Q&A period. I'm curious about the panelists' thoughts on due diligence, I said, standing up in the back of the room, specifically how investors should research the background of fund managers before committing capital. The moderator gave a standard answer about checking references and reviewing track records. I nodded politely and sat down, but not before making eye contact with several of the people Liam had been courting. After the panel, I approached one of them, a wealthy widow from Texas who'd been talking about investing in authentic travel experiences. Excuse me, I said. I couldn't help but notice you were talking with Liam Faulkner earlier. I just thought you should know. I did some research on his background, and there are some concerning discrepancies. I handed her a folder containing printouts of everything Tom had discovered. I'm not trying to interfere with your business decisions. I just believe in informed investing. She flipped through the documents, her expression growing more serious with each page. This says he's being sued by 3 different creditors. Among other things, the man claiming to have 2 million social media followers actually has about 40,000 real ones. The rest are fake accounts. Why are you telling me this? Because I hate seeing good people get taken advantage of, and because Liam Faulkner destroyed my family. Consider it a public service. I had similar conversations with 4 other potential investors over the next 2 hours. By evening, word was spreading through the conference. Liam's networking sessions were getting shorter, his smile more strained. But the real fireworks came at dinner. The conference dinner was held on the resort's main terrace overlooking the ocean. Fairy lights strung between palm trees, local musicians playing soft jazz, the kind of romantic setting that would normally cost a fortune. I made sure to arrive early and secure a table with a good view of the head table, where Liam and Adriana were sitting with the conference organizers. I'd spent the afternoon making phone calls. Tom had been busy back in Maine, gathering more evidence and making some strategic phone calls of his own. Sarah had filed emergency motions to freeze the offshore accounts. And I'd reached out to a few journalists I knew, people who specialized in financial fraud stories. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait. Liam stood up during the dessert course, tapping his wine glass to get everyone's attention. I'd like to thank everyone for making this conference such a success, he began, flashing his perfect smile. And I'm excited to announce that Wanderlust Capital is officially launching next month. Polite applause from the crowd, though I noticed it was less enthusiastic than it would have been yesterday. We're looking for visionary investors who understand that the future of travel is about authentic experiences and meaningful connections. Liam continued. People who aren't afraid to take risks on revolutionary ideas. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Tom. It's done. I stood up, and the movement caught Liam's attention. He faltered mid-sentence when he saw me, his face going pale. I'm sorry to interrupt, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the terrace, but I think everyone here deserves to know who they're really dealing with. The crowd turned to look at me, confused murmurs rippling through the gathering. Adriana was staring at me like I was a ghost, her wine glass frozen halfway to her lips. My name is Soren Hale, I continued, and the man you've been listening to just stole $400,000 from me while I was recovering from surgery. The murmurs got louder. Liam tried to regain control. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is clearly disturbed. Am I? I pulled out my phone and held it up, because I have screenshots of text messages where you admit to seducing my wife specifically to get access to our bank accounts. I have evidence that your social media following is mostly fake, that you're being sued by multiple creditors, and that you owe money to some very dangerous people. Liam's composure cracked completely. You don't know what you're talking about. Tony Marcelli, I said. $200,000 plus interest. Ring any bells? The color drained from Liam's face. Several people at nearby tables were already pulling out their phones, either recording the confrontation or Googling the names I'd mentioned. And Adriana, I said, turning to look at my wife. Did you know that your boyfriend here has been calling you the Mark in his private messages? Did you know he's planning to disappear with the money as soon as he pays off his debts? Adriana stood up shakily. That's not true. Liam, tell them that's not true. But Liam was already backing toward the exit, his eyes darting around the terrace like a trapped animal. I don't have to listen to this. Actually, you do, I said, because those federal agents walking up behind you would like a word. I'd been bluffing about the federal agents, but Liam didn't know that. He spun around, saw 2 resort security guards approaching, and panicked. He bolted for the beach, leaving Adriana standing alone at the head table while 300 conference attendees watched in stunned silence. The security guards caught him before he made it to the water. The next morning, I found Adriana sitting alone at the resort's breakfast buffet, looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Her perfect makeup was gone, replaced by dark circles under her eyes. The designer dress had been swapped for jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt. I sat down across from her without being invited. So, I said, how's the Maldives treating you? She looked up at me with something that might have been hatred. You bastard. You planned this whole thing. Actually, I didn't plan anything. I just followed the trail of evidence you and Liam left behind. Amazing how much damage you can do to someone when they hand you all the ammunition. He said he loved me. I'm sure he did, right up until he got access to the bank accounts. Adriana's hands were shaking as she reached for her coffee cup. The money's gone, isn't it? All of it? Most of it. Turns out your boyfriend had some very expensive debts to pay off. The good news is that the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit is very interested in his investment scheme. The bad news is that you're probably going to be charged as an accessory. I didn't know about any investment scheme, but you knew about stealing my money. You knew about the fake power of attorney documents. You knew about cleaning out the accounts while I was recovering from surgery. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I just wanted out, Soren. I wanted a different life. So you decided to destroy mine instead of asking for a divorce like a normal person? You would have fought me on everything. The house, the money, the business. It would have taken years. Maybe, but it would have been legal, and I wouldn't have spent the last week plotting your complete destruction. She looked up sharply. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and showed her a news article that had gone live an hour ago. Financial fraud investigation targets social media influencer was the headline. Below it was a photo of Liam being led away in handcuffs. Tom's been very busy, I said. Turns out the FBI was already investigating Liam for wire fraud. My information just helped them connect the dots. They've frozen all the offshore accounts and issued warrants for anyone connected to Wanderlust Capital. Adriana's face went white. They can't arrest me. I didn't know about the investment thing. Maybe not, but they can definitely arrest you for identity theft, wire fraud, and grand larceny. The power of attorney documents you used were forged. Tom found the guy who made them. He's already agreed to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence. You're lying. I showed her another article, this one from a financial blog. Travel blogger's luxury lifestyle built on stolen money. It included photos from her social media posts, along with bank records showing the source of the funds. The internet never forgets, Adriana, and it really doesn't like people who steal from their sick husbands. She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. What do you want? What do you want me to do? I want you to understand what you've lost, I said. Not just the money, though most of that's gone for good. I want you to understand that you threw away 8 years of marriage, a comfortable life, and a husband who loved you, all for a con man who never cared about you at all. I know that now. Do you? Because I don't think you do. I think you're just sorry you got caught. I stood up to leave, then paused. Oh, and Adriana? The penthouse locks have been changed back. Your things are in storage. The address is in your email. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. And for the first time in 8 years, that's not my problem. 3 months later, I was back in Maine, sitting in the rusty Anchor with Jake and Tom, watching the evening news. The Anchor was talking about the Wanderlust Capital case, which had grown into a major financial fraud investigation involving dozens of victims and millions of dollars. Liam Faulkner was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison today, the Anchor said. His accomplice and former girlfriend, Adriana Hale, received 3 years probation and was ordered to pay restitution to victims. Jake raised his beer. To justice served. To revenge? Tom corrected. Much more satisfying than justice. I didn't say anything, just watched Adriana's mugshot flash on the screen. She looked older, defeated. The glamorous travel blogger was gone, replaced by someone who'd learned the hard way that actions have consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Final settlement came through. You're getting back about 60% of what was stolen. Not perfect, but better than nothing. Better than nothing. I'd lost a wife, a fortune, and 8 years of my life, but I'd gained something more valuable. The knowledge that I was stronger than I'd thought. That I could fight back when cornered. That I didn't have to be a victim. The bar door opened, and Gina walked in. She spotted me immediately, but hesitated, clearly debating whether to approach. Finally, she walked over to our table. Soren, she said quietly. Can I talk to you? Jake and Tom made excuses and moved to the bar, leaving us alone. I wanted to apologize, Gina said, for what I said that day, for helping Adriana plan everything. I didn't realize how bad it would get. You helped her forge legal documents and steal my life savings while I was recovering from surgery, I said. What exactly did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd just get divorced. I thought she'd take half, and that would be it. Instead, she took everything and tried to disappear with a con man. Gina nodded miserably. She called me from jail. She wanted me to post bail. Did you? No, I couldn't afford it even if I wanted to, and honestly, what she did to you was wrong. Really wrong. I studied her face, looking for signs of deception, but Gina just looked tired and ashamed. She's getting out next week, Gina continued. The probation officer found her a job at a call center in Portland. Minimum wage, but it's something. Good for her. She wanted to know if there was any chance. No, I said firmly. Whatever she's hoping for, the answer is no. No reconciliation, no friendship, no forgiveness. She made her choice. Gina nodded sadly. I figured, but I had to ask. She started to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, I think she really did love you. She wanted more than what she had. Then she should have talked to me instead of robbing me blind. Yeah, she should have. After Gina left, Jake and Tom returned to the table. You okay? Jake asked. Better than okay, I said. I'm free. And I was. Free from a marriage built on lies, free from a woman who saw me as nothing more than a bank account, free from the naive belief that love was enough to overcome fundamental character flaws. The snow was falling outside the bar's windows, covering the town in a clean white blanket. Tomorrow I'd start rebuilding. The business, the bank account, maybe eventually my ability to trust someone. But tonight I was content to sit with friends and watch the world disappear under fresh snow. My phone buzzed with another text, this one from an unknown number. This isn't over. I showed it to Tom, who shrugged. Probably Liam, texting from prison. Some guys never learn. I deleted the message without responding. Let him rage from his cell. Let Adriana struggle with her minimum wage job and her ruined reputation. Let them both live with the consequences of their choices. I had better things to do than worry about the past.